All right, so section 3.2, we are adding and subtracting linear expressions. So what is a linear expression? It's an algebraic expression in which the exponent of the variable is 1. So here's a couple examples. I have negative 4x. This expression is linear because there is, even though you don't see it, it's kind of that hidden 1 rule. There is a exponent of 1 here. That's it, negative 4x. Look at this one. This isn't a linear expression because the variable here is technically a hidden 1, and it's the same thing on this one. Some non-examples. These right here are not, I'm going to write this in purple, are not linear expressions, and here is the reason why. This is x squared. It's being raised to the second power, not a linear expression. This says negative 7x to the third power, not a linear expression because it's being raised to the third. This is saying x to the fifth plus 1, not a linear expression because it is being raised to the fifth power. So just a few things. All right, now, the last video, I've just kind of put this in here. I'm not going to even give you the definitions. You need to go find it yourself because I gave it in the last video, so it should be in your notes. You should be able to remember what the hidden 1 is, that little, and what the distributive property is. We talked about it last video, and again, last notes. And matter of fact, I even mentioned about the hidden 1 even now in this video. So you might want to go back and review that because we're going to be talking about it again here soon. All right, so what we are actually going to be doing today is what we're going to do is finding the sum or difference of linear expressions. So notice that this is all in parentheses. This whole thing that's in parentheses is an expression by itself, all right? This one is an expression by itself. And together, they actually make an expression. So this is where math gets confusing in its language. This whole thing is an expression. But I'm adding 2 expressions to make a big expression. Now, what we want to do is, it's this, find the sum or difference, but I also want to say another term. Simplify the expression. Why am I putting that there? Because, like I said, even though this is 2 different expressions, they combine to make a big expression. All right, so we're still simplifying expression. What does it mean to simplify? Last video I said it means that we are combining all like terms together so that our final result, the final expression that we create, has no like terms in it whatsoever and no parentheses. So how do we go doing this? So the question is, how do we simplify this expression? Well, the way I'm going to do it is using distributive property and remembering the hidden 1. So right off the bat, you see a parentheses right here. So you know something's going on, but what's really happening here? Guess what? There's really a hidden 1 right here in front of that parentheses. And guess what else? There's really a hidden 1 right here. Hey, this looks mighty familiar to something we did in the last video. This looks now something like the distributive property. 1 times x gives me 1x. And then 1 times a negative 2 gives me negative 2. All right, then I'm going to do the distributive property here. Positive 1 times x gives me a plus 1x. And then a positive 1 times a plus 6 gives me a plus 6. Well, now I can kind of combine my terms. I have 1x plus 1x. I've got those moved. And I'm going to put minus 2, moving that, plus 6. I'm moving my like terms together. Now I can combine 1x plus 1x is equal to 2x. And a minus 2 plus 6 will give me a plus 4. Don't believe me? Let's find out. Oh, there's the magical fairy. And when I do, I get negative 2 plus 6 equals a positive 4. So what have I just done? I have literally just simplified my expression. And how do I know it's simplified? None of these terms are alike, and there is no parentheses. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Sorry, more computer problems as per usual. There we go. All right, so what do we have here? Hey, don't forget, there's a hidden 1 here, so I need to rewrite this and make my life easier. So I'm going to put like this as a hidden 1, and I'm going to put this as a hidden 1 as well. So 1 times 2n is 2n. 1 times a -4 is -4. So we've just did the distributive property here. Now I'm going to do the distributive property here. -1 times 4n gives me -4n. -1 times a -3, remembering your rules with integers and positives, negatives, a -1 times a -3 is a +3. Now that I've done that, I can start combining my like terms. I have 2n, and then I have a -4n. Put those together. Then I have a -4 and a +3. So I could put those together. 2n minus 4. Following your rules with working with integers, 2 minus 4 is -2n. And then -4 plus 3. Well, -4 plus 3 is going to give me -1. I can't do anything else with these because these are not like terms. Therefore, and there's no parentheses, therefore I have simplified this expression. I have found the sum or the difference. This minus that gives me that. Same concept here. So again, we're going to use the distributive property on this first one. 2 times a -3y gives me -6y. 2 times a -1 gives me a -2. Well, let's do this one. Hey, there's that hidden 1 again. So +1 times 2y gives me a +2y. And a +1 times a +7 gives me a +7. Now, combine like terms. I have -6y, wrote that one down, plus 2y, I've moved that together, -2 plus 7. I've combined all my terms. -6y plus 2y, well, remember your rules with integers, and I get -4y. So they're done. -2 plus 7, combine those using the rules with integers again. -2 plus 7 gives me a +5. Don't believe me? Let's find out. -2 plus 7 gives me 5, and I have 5. None of the terms are alike, and there are no parentheses. I have simplified this expression. Same concept here, all right? Now, using distributive property with a hidden 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 3k. I've just made this a whole lot easier using distributive property. Now we're going to use the distributive property again. -4 times 2 gives me a -8. Then I'm going to do the next one. -4 times 2.5. Well, I'm going to be lazy. -4 times 2.5. I already know the answer, but I'm going to be lazy. Is going to be -10k. Let's combine like terms. All right. Now, the one thing about combining like terms, and I'm going to mention it now, it's usually better to have your variables first. So I'm going to put -3k. I've moved that one. And a -10k. I've moved that one. Then I have a, what's really there? It's a 1, but since there's not a negative there, technically it's a +1. It's a positive number. Then -8. Simplify. -3 minus 10 is going to give me -13k. +1 minus 8 gives me -7. There are no like terms. There are no parentheses. I have simplified this expression by adding and subtracting. All right, now we're getting something a little bit more complicated. Don't freak out. It's the same procedure. Just because it's a fraction doesn't mean anything. You still follow procedure. So, first off, we have this parentheses. How do I get rid of it? Using the hidden 1 in the distributive property. 1 times 6g is 6g. 1 times a -9 is a -9. Now, you're already freaking out. 1/3, what do I do with it? Stop. Follow distributive property. You are going to take this +1/3 and you're going to multiply it by 15. How do I do that? Well, you can just go over to the side and you can say 1/3 times 15 and follow the rules that you have learned since probably 5th, 6th grade when it comes to working with fractions. Or in this case, I'm going to let you use a calculator. You're going to put in your calculator 1 ABC 3, this is 1/3, and you're going to multiply it by 15, and when you do, you get 5. So 1/3 times 15 gives you a plus 5. Now we're going to do the next thing, 1/3 times a negative 9g. So 1 ABC, 1/3 times negative 9, that's what that minus is about, is a times negative 9, gives you a minus 3g. Not too complicated. Just remember, you have a calculator. Just remember, the same rules about multiplying fractions have never disappeared. They're still there, and they're just being used in a different way. Now that we've done that, let's combine our terms. Let's go 6g minus 3g. I've moved those two. And then I have a minus 9, move that one, plus 5. Now that I've got all my like terms put together, let's just do the work. 6g minus 3g, well, that's easy, 3g. Negative 9 plus 5 gives me negative 4. Now, there are no like terms, there are no parentheses, this is simplified. Same concept on this one. Hey, there's fractions, no big deal, treat it like normal. Use distributive property. 1/2 times 2r. Well, this one you should know. What's half of 2? Half of 2 is 1. So 1/2 times 2r is 1r. Now do 1/2 times a positive 4. Well, what's 1/2 of 4? That's a positive 2. Don't believe me? Use your calculator. Now let's do the next one. We're going to use the distributive property. I have a negative 1/4 times 16. So I'll do this one. Negative 1 ABC fourth. Negative 1/4, and I'm going to multiply that by 16. I get a minus 4. Then I'm going to go negative 1/4 times a negative 8. So negative 1 ABC, whoops, wrong button, ABC fourth, negative 1/4 times negative 8, because that's what I'm doing, negative 1/4 times a negative 8 will give me a positive 2. So that's going to give me plus 2r. Now that I've done that, let's put our terms together. 1r plus 2r, there are my like terms, I combine them. And then I have a plus 2 and a minus 4. Those are like terms, and I'm going to combine them. 1r plus 2r gives me 3r. 2 plus a negative 4 gives me negative 2. Don't believe me? Use your calculator. I have no like terms. There are no parentheses. I have simplified this expression. Now, number 7. So you earn this many points, this expression, 4x plus 12 points after completing x levels of a video game, and then lose this many points. Write an expression that represents the total number of points you have now. Well, think this one through. You earned 4x plus 12 points. But you lost, meaning subtraction. When you lose something, you're taking away. You subtracted the 2x minus 5. All right? That's what happened. You earned this, you had it, but then they took this away from you. All right? That's it. It's just like you had 5 points in the game, but then they took 3 points away. 5 minus 3. All right? Or 5, whatever. So now that you have that, we need to simplify this expression to tell how many points I have now. What do? Well, I got to get rid of those parentheses. How do I do that? Hidden 1 and distributive property. Technically, there's a 1 here. So 1 times 4x gives me 4x. 1 times positive 12 gives me positive 12. What's over here? I have a hidden 1 again. Use distributive property. Negative 1 times 2x gives me negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 5 gives me positive 5. Don't believe me? Check your calculator. Now, let's put our terms together. So I have 4x minus 2x. Those terms are like terms. We put them together. And then we have a plus 12 and a plus 5. Those terms are like terms, so we put them together. Now, let's finish this out. 4x minus 2x gives me 2x. 12 plus 5 gives me a positive 17. There are no more like terms. There are no more parentheses. I have simplified this expression. All right, and musical fairies. All right, how many times did the fairies go off in these videos today? I don't know. Anyway, that's it, guys. 3.2 is done. This is the same concept over and over again. We're going to have a lot of practice on this. You know how to find me. Ask questions. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.